Good afternoon, good morning, happy time zone, everyone.
Hey, folks.
Hey everyone.
Hi, I click start and the room just exploded.
Right?
This is awesome.
It's awesome. So welcome everyone. We'll give everyone a few moments to filter in, click the join buttons and all that good stuff.
Remember that they signed up for the webinar in the first place.
Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, I forgot I was on the webinar this morning, so I can't judge.
Mackenzie didn't because we dragged her all the way from Vermont.
I
Yeah.
know.
So we wanted to confirm that she was real and also
I'm
have
not just
someone.
a cow, because that's really all we have up there.
Oh, I thought you had Maple up there.
Maple and cows. That's
Oh.
really our thing.
Cool.
Like the time we came to visit you and we didn't realize the option and ways for avoid ferries.
Yeah, you had a fun ferry across the Lake Champlain.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, it was like frozen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You guys did come in like March,
Yeah.
right? Yep.
perfect time to sail the seas of Vermont or
Yep.
whatever.
Sail the ocean.
But apparently, yeah, if your GPS time keeps changing by like 40 minutes or an hour randomly, there might be a ferry involved.
Yeah.
We didn't know this.
Make sure you cross from New York before you hit the lake. Is pretty much the goal.
We've learned the hard way.
Yeah, it was fun.
An adventure.
Yeah.
All right. So we're at just about 2 after, so we can go ahead and kick it off. So good afternoon, happy time zone, everyone. Welcome to our fall/Q3, since I know we're right on the cusp of fall webinar, Turn Splunk into your smartest SOC analyst. So it's from noise to notables, smarter detections here in ES. And I'll pass it off to Tom and Mackenzie.
Awesome. Thanks, Meredith.
Yeah, we brought someone who's smart here to actually do that because we realize we do webinars where you have me talking and you have Meredith talking, but you want to hear someone who's actually doing the work that happens here. So that's why we have Mackenzie. So
yeah, so I'm thrilled to join, especially thrilled to join here from Ohio from our offices. I am Mackenzie Marsocci. I am the SOC architect team lead here at Hurricane Labs. And you all know Tom, who does basically everything. And then Meredith, our local threat actor, as you'll learn. So with this talk, we kind of talked about how can you turn Splunk into your smartest SOC analyst? You can't. Nothing can replace a well-trained, experienced analyst. Good webinar, everybody.
thank you for attending.
Thanks for being here. We'll see you later. No, but how do we use Splunk to make your analysts better? How do we use Splunk to make Analyst Lab easier so that they can actually spend time investigating important alerts and what matters rather than spending time managing a queue? So that's the goal here for the webinar today. In terms of, before we even start, there are some foundational things that folks will need to think about in terms of maturity, both for detections and for the SOC. So when you're thinking about detections, how are you detecting things? Are these single event detections? Are these, if X happens, alert fires? Is it based on a threshold of it takes X amount of things happening for an alert to fire? Do you have something like risk-based alerting that can apply a risk score to a system or a user dynamically depending on what the alert is? And is there any part of your triage system that is automated? Whether that be certain alerts that can be fully automated so that your SOC never even touches them versus no automation, everything is being done manually. Another thing to think about is how mature the SOC is itself. So do you have defined workflows and processes for specific alerts? Do your SOC analysts know how to potentially remediate something on their own? Or do they even have the ability to do something like quarantine a system or lock a user?
So Mackenzie, you've seen a customer or two in your day.
One or two.
And you've also worked with new clients that are just coming in as Hurricane Labs clients, also people that have been around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
When you start working with someone or someone's coming to Hurricane Labs, what are some of the things that you would see? Oh, these are indicators like, hey, they're very mature and they have their stuff together, and this is someone that we're excited to work with.
Yeah, so there's a few different kind of green flags for a SOC in my experience. So first off, and I'm going to harp on this a lot, but having defined processes and procedures that analysts know and can easily find and follow is huge. I know that sounds very silly and very foundational, but it is something so critical to making sure a SOC is as efficient as possible. Another thing is using risk-based alerting, or at least having an interest in something like risk-based alerting rather than relying on these one-to-one detections. There's also threat modeling. So if a client walks in and says, we want to focus on alerts that are specific to us and our industry or our company, we understand what are our highest priority threats, and we can prioritize use cases that way.
So knowing the things that keep you up at night,
Exactly.
what concerns are relevant to your industry, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And another thing, an asset or a software inventory that is kept regularly up to date is huge, and truly just the thing that makes me happiest with our new clients when they're able to come in and say, yes, we have an asset inventory, here it is. And it's defined and updated, and we know exactly what is in their environment, so we know what we should be looking for and what we can detect on.
Yeah, knowing what they have, what systems are deployed, what softwares are deployed, but also what users exist, I
Yes.
think are big.
Yeah, no, users and user categories. So being able to define easily which of your users have certain privileged access, what users have access to things like potentially financial information, things like that.
I would say also on the flip side of that, we talked about green flags. Are there some things that just like you'll see that show lacking maturity, make you want to run screaming away, something like that? Things that are scary?
Yeah. So on the flip side of our last point, not having any sort of idea what assets, software, users are in the environment. This is thankfully something I've run across very rarely, but it does happen. Knowing what is in your environment, we can't detect or recommend that we bring in logs for systems that you don't know exist. We can only do so much. So working with a team that has that full built out asset or user inventory is huge. Some other red flags include wanting, I don't know how to phrase this, wanting quantity of alerts over quality of alerts.
The good CISO wants to see big number on dashboard thing.
Yes, exactly. It is, we want to see so many alerts, but they're not factoring in how that could affect their analysts and how that could affect alert fatigue and how that could, along the lines, potentially lead to misses and missing really valuable alerts that should be investigated.
That's a really good call out and something I know we hear a lot of.
Yeah. And another thing that is something that we kind of deal with less from an actual practitioner standpoint, but that I see a lot in some clients, is difficulty with inter-organization communication. Of your analysts don't know who to go to ask questions. They don't know this thing is happening. Who do I reach out to get the full picture or to get more information? So having clear pathways for escalation or clear pathways to get answers is, or lacking those is a pretty big red flag for me.
Yeah, on the flip side, green flags, I love it when I can ask a client, oh, I need some information about this in your environment. Like, hey, go to this person. They've been here forever. They know all the answers. It's like, that's awesome.
Great, perfect.
We work together, knock stuff out.
Yep. So yeah. So moving into some things that are just kind of off the bat, what can we use Splunk for to make life easier for analysts and to kind of reduce that alert fatigue? Number one thing on, and my team is a little attached to this concept because it is what we do, but tune your alerts, please. It is the best thing that you can do for your analysts is to remove things that you know are false positives and allow those alerts to just go away. Analysts do not need to be repetitively closing the same alert with the same close code of benign expected activity. If they know it's benign and expected activity, and it's always going to be benign and expected activity, tune it out, make it go away. You don't need to worry about it.
And there's no value there for your analyst, and it just makes them less likely to look at things that are actually going to be important.
Absolutely. Another option is data models. This is something pretty foundational to Splunk itself, but one way that I don't see clients using them is for investigations. So data models allow us to store various source types in kind of one area and search all of those source types at once. So using data models to look at things like network traffic, if you have multiple firewalls, using it to look at endpoint data, if you want to look at your Windows event codes and your EDR data, you can look at processes.
I feel like you're calling me out there. Too many index equals star searches when I'm trying to find something, but
I'm just as guilty of it.
yeah.
But these are ways that can help your analysts kind of see the overall statistics and really dig into some data. And if they need to go to the indexes later, great, you can get that information from the data models. But data models really help kind of that broad, very quick searching. Next up here is enrichment. So actually enriching the alerts themselves as they kind of generate as notables or in ES8 detections in Splunk. So having a filled out assets and identities framework, remember a couple of slides ago when we were talking about an asset and user inventory, that's where this comes into play. So when a detection fires, you can give analysts the information of what's the destination, what's its host name, what is an asset's category, does it have a specific purpose? Is it a DNS server? Is it an email server? Is it a user workstation? And the same thing with identities. You can filter things to, is this a service account? Is this an admin user? Is this a high risk business user? So think C-suite, people who are valuable targets for threat actors.
I think break glass accounts
Break
another
glass
great
accounts.
example.
Yes, actually, yeah. Break glass accounts are perfect because if a break glass account is being used, you probably want to be aware of it immediately and have a really, really quick understanding of why that account was used. On top of enrichment, there's also threat intelligence that can be used to enrich alerting and give an understanding of any potential indicators of compromise that are seen in the detection, whether that be IP addresses, domains, file names, etc. One more thing is we talked a little bit about risk-based alerting, and I'll get into risk factors a little deeper in future slides. But risk factors allow us to kind of modify the risk score of a specific alert depending on things like user categories or specific user accounts or specific assets. So adding in those risk factors and allowing us to kind of modify how risk-based alerts function can give us a little bit of an edge and make certain alerts fire sooner. Next up here is mapping detections to a security framework. We here at Hurricane Labs love MITRE ATT&CK. Enter your preferred security framework here, but actually mapping your detections to security frameworks, it's not a silver bullet, but it can help your analysts understand where in the attack chain alerts are firing. And also you can use it to help figure out if there are any glaring gaps in your detection capabilities. Do you not have any detections at all for data exfiltration? That's probably a fairly large red flag.
It's a great visual too.
Yeah, so when I know that we have the MITRE ATT&CK app within Splunk, so you can go in there and actually visually see exactly what alerts are available. And last up here, and this is pretty much what I would recommend for more mature SOCs, is starting to use automated actions and or adaptive response actions within Splunk. So automating some of these tasks to free up more of your analyst time to spend time investigating rather than sending an email or closing a ticket or blocking an IP.
So story time.
So story time.
Yeah.
So we have a few characters here. We have Tom, who, if you can see his laptop on that screen, that is WannaCry.
Just
Tom,
you know what you do.
what you just have on a laptop. But Tom is going to be a wonderful customer for us today. I'm going to be myself and be a SOC architect. And then Meredith
Knows what she's doing.
and then Meredith here is going to be our threat actor. So
Which is really nothing other than what she just normally does in real life all the time.
basically. So when we talk about these threats, anybody have a help desk? What about users? Assume somebody has a user, maybe two. Anyone ever had a user forget their password or break oh my goodness, break an MFA device? Anything like that? I'm assuming that will be pretty common across the webinar, right? This is not a crazy occurrence. So with all of these, how can we detect unauthorized password changes in the environment?
We want to make sure we deal with people who legitimately forget their password or legitimately break their phone,
Yeah.
as opposed to a threat actor who might be
Yeah.
doing that.
And this is actually a fairly common attack path nowadays. There's been quite a few very high profile breaches that the threat actor has used this methodology to gain initial access. So how can we detect these unauthorized password changes? Well, it can all start with a detection. So this particular detection was pulled from Splunk's research. They have their own detection library that you can go and view. So we're going to start with one of these and then modify it for our purposes.
We'll have Meredith throw the link to that in the chat too, just so you can have that as reference. But this is coming from Splunk's library, something you can just pull down. And
Yep.
Mackenzie will actually walk you the process of
Yep.
someone who sees this and turns it into something that is a good starting point, but accomplishes what we're actually looking to do.
So this base search that we have is really looking at Azure Active Directory logs to look for when an account is disabled or a password is reset or a user is updated by an admin. So if you can see here, we have this macro that we're going to end up just expanding out. We have our operation name of enable account, which we're really looking at password reset, so we're less necessarily worried about an account enablement. We have our password reset operation here. But this is by admin. So do we want only admin password resets? Probably not. And then the same thing with the update user operation here. We're going to remove this transaction line here simply because it's for the purpose of this original search, it was trying to figure out if certain events were happening in a certain order. We don't necessarily need that for our purposes today. Most of this is going to stay the same. I'm going to end up changing this line here and these lines down here just because it bugs me and it is a personal preference for how I write searches and how I do time. And then you're going to see me make some changes down here with this filter. So we see our original search. Here is kind of what we've done with it since then. Clearly you can see it's a lot shorter. So I expanded out that macro. That's that same macro from earlier, just expanded for these imaginary indexes and source types. We're keeping that operation name as reset password, but I have added a wildcard to the end. So it's not just by admin, but we're also not locking it exclusively to just the phrase reset password. I've moved a filter up here. So why we like to do this at Hurricane Labs is sometimes when we're tuning, we can filter things out all the way from the top here. Makes more efficient searches, removes results faster. So we're not going through all of this activity before we start filtering something out.
When you think about a search that you're running every 5 minutes for all time, not all time, for the rest of the known universe, you want to make it as efficient as possible.
Yes. Especially once you start adding more and more of those detections, and then we don't want to knock anyone's Splunk stack over. That's a sad time.
You build more than one search. Your whole team is building searches all the time. So,
keeping these renames the same, we are changing this rename just because this particular field, the source user field, is also something that we see in a lot of our data models. So we can end up we want it to be as SIM compliant as possible so we can start kind of working with that language. You can see here, I changed how time works because that's just how I like to write it personally. And we did keep a filter at the end because there are some things that you can't always filter out right at the beginning of the search. You need a little bit more logic to figure out if you want to tune something. So we keep that customization down here so that we can really rapidly change that. Great. So first off, before I even start here, please don't use this filter. This is a really bad filter. I would never put this filter in a client environment. Please do not. Okay, great. So for our purposes here, Tom, you're the customer. What do we want to filter?
well, of course, me, I don't want to get bothered when I change my password. I'm an admin, whatever.
Great.
Filter me out. We don't care about internal networks. Threat actors are going to do that. Once again, I put my customer hat on.
Yes, that's customer hat. Please don't do this. If a customer actually asked me to filter out an admin password reset, I would say no, or at least would very strongly try to convince them otherwise. But for our purposes, let's say this all makes sense in the context of the customer network. So you can see here, we are filtering out all these private IP address ranges and also the source user, Tom, the admin.
We have a very sophisticated
Mhm.
admin naming scheme
Yep.
here. So
that's again, tuning can show up in different ways, but that's just kind of a very simple example of tuning. Next up here is enrichment with assets and identities. This is a screenshot from Splunk itself from when you are default creating a correlation search or detection, depending on what version of enterprise security you're on. So you can see already it is extracting all of these identity values from the identity framework. And the same thing for assets. You can see what assets are being extracted here. So again, this can help kind of put these things in perspective for your analysts and give a little bit additional context that might aid their investigations. So threat intelligence is another great usage of enrichment. We here at Hurricane Labs have an open source tool that is available to y'all called MITRE. It allows us to really rapidly get information on indicators of compromise and pulls data from various open source threat feeds. So that's what we're able to use and kind of gain really quick understanding of a potential indicator rather than doing the, I'm going to open Alien Vault, I'm going to open other Virus Total, I'm going to open all these other sources to investigate indicators. It allows us to just give it the indicator and get results. Splunk itself also has native threat intelligence management. You can work with that rather, oh my goodness, you can work with that, and whether they be paid threat feeds that you've subscribed to or something like an ISAC that's more of a private threat feed, you can also bring in a large number of open source threat feeds into Splunk and work with those directly in the tool itself. So now we're going to talk about risk and risk factors a little bit. So when we are trying to score risk, we're usually thinking if a system or user goes above 100 risk score, we want to alert and we want to be aware. So for a password reset, we're going to actually launch a poll real quick here for folks. On a scale, on a score from 0 to 100, what type of risk score do you think we should assign a password reset? Just a basic, we are configuring the baseline alert. What score should we set as our default?
this is going to be interesting too, because I'm
know.
used to multiple choice ones for this for short answer. So we don't actually see what's coming up
No.
yet. So we're just seeing numbers pop up. It's great. It's going to be a mystery to all of us. So what else? Wish I had my piano in the background. I could just do the Jeopardy song
thing.
live, you know. But
You think we can get that on the budget for next year? An organ for Tom right here.
I just bring my portable one.
Oh, there you go. That's fair.
Put it
Never
back
mind.
there. Do some live entertainment while you're doing polls.
I was overcomplicating it.
Yeah, whatever. Right. Good participation. More than half of you have already answered. So thank you for those that have done that. We'll just give it another 15 more seconds and then we'll go on. Yeah, someone who raised their hand, if you do, you can use the Q&A to post any questions as well, and we'll be able to get to those either in real time or at the end. So Meredith is helping us coordinate any Q&A that comes in.
Yes, and you're also more than welcome to use the chat as well.
Okay, we have passed that mark, so I'm going to hit end poll, and we're going to see what happens. View details. Oh God, it's making me sign in. This is the live webinar fun that you get to see when you're experiencing something for the first time. Oh, I know why this is going to happen. Okay, we're going to have to get those results later, I think.
Yeah. Awesome. Does anyone want to type in the chat what they put down as a score? I know we all just had you do that in the poll, but we unfortunately can't see those results right now. So anyway, thank you, 30. Thank you, Paul. 50, thank you, Alex. 50. Seeing lots of 50s. Yeah. 80 for an admin. Nice call out there, Paul. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of the results we're getting are kind of around that kind of middle range, right? That kind of 40 to 60, what I would consider a medium type of alert. So, but as Paul called out, should that risk score be the same for every single user? Are we as worried about a one end user's password reset as we are as an admin? Probably not. So that's where risk factors in Splunk can come in. You can do things like either add to a risk score. So as Paul said, they'd give it 80 for an admin. So if let's say that we stuck with that 50 risk score, we could add 30 to it, or you can also multiply by a factor. So you can multiply by like 1.5, for example. So we can modify these risk scores per user, and that's why I know we harp on it, but that assets and identities framework, we can build a lot of risk factors and additional scoring off of those details and those categories. If we have an actual understanding of who users are and what they're doing in this type of alert, that is an invaluable resource for us as detection engineers, but also for your analysts so that they actually get the alerts they need. So automation. Remember how I talked about processes a lot earlier? That's going to come up again. You can't automate what you don't know. What actions need to be taken? What can be automated? Is there anything that analysts are doing repetitively every time an alert comes in? They're not investigating, they just know what process they need to follow.
Computers are really good at following directions really fast.
Yes.
But the directions have to exist.
Yes, you have to actually know what process you're trying to follow through on. So things to think about for automation is, do you want your analyst to be able to lock that user account once they've determined it is a true positive malicious password change? Do you need it to notify other IT staff? Do you need to notify the user supervisor? What if you could quarantine the user's computer entirely if we're dealing with something like malware? Or if we're dealing with something like at the firewall level, can you block the source IP directly at the firewall? Now, not all SOCs are going to have these capabilities for various reasons, but these are just some examples of automation that can be done in this context.
Yeah, in the case of like a password reset where the user says, hey, that wasn't me. That's something you have to figure out how to triage that really quickly before they can pivot and escalate the
Exactly. Because unfortunately, nowadays with dwell times, we are dealing with minutes.
Yeah.
So what can you do now? You've heard us run on and on and on about this. Things that you can start doing now if you're not already. Using data models, making sure that that data is SIM compliant as well, so it's actually searchable in the data model, and all of that information is coming over as you need it. Mapping detections to a security framework, whether that be MITRE or NIST or what have you, the kill chain, what have you. Implementing risk scoring for events and users. So if you're not already doing any sort of risk-based alerting, might be something to think about. And if you'd like to talk to us about it, please do. We love risk-based alerting. And also using adaptive response actions or a SOAR tool to automate what you can. Not everything can be automated. We don't want to automate everything, but there are some things that typically are pretty routine for SOCs and can free up some time for your analysts.
Yeah, and anything you can do to save cycles or prevent someone like gather information ahead of time, that can be useful as well.
So, demo time. So Meredith, our favorite threat actor here, has called our help desk. Our help desk is being wonderful, helpful folks and have reset a user's password. Meredith, have you, Meredith, any particular user that you targeted?
Yeah, while y'all were on the webinar, I had some fun. I broke into Tom's office. I stole a hoodie, as any good threat actor would do, and I stole a phone. So I think I've targeted Tom.
Well, unfortunately, in this scenario, Tom, the admin, is filtered out of our detection.
Yes.
So no alert is fired, nothing is wrong. But
She stole someone else's phone at the same
Yeah.
time. So
no. But so let's say admin account has been targeted. This alert, so the password gets changed. Hopefully this alert fires immediately. So as we talked about before, that risk, let's keep that kind of average risk score of 50. We're going to work with that. Again, it's an admin account. So we added some risk score, as Paul said, 80. Great. Remember, our threshold is 100. So Meredith got access, has this user account. Maybe as a threat actor, she starts doing some discovery actions. She starts maybe trying to access some more sensitive information or more sensitive systems.
like she's got an admin account.
She can do whatever she wants.
Yeah.
I've
She
got
is
an
free reign.
account. I think I'm also going to work on resetting some MFA.
I'm going to reset MFA as well.
I might.
Maybe. Might be fun. So as she's doing this, hopefully in this scenario, we have other alerts already functioning that are going to catch those actions and continue to add to that risk score. At some point, that risk score is going to hit 100.
In the case of an admin account, you're at 80 already.
It's not going to take much
Yeah.
action. It's not going to take much on the threat actors
She's
level.
really excited. She's trying to do things like those are going to be things that fire, and then you're already responding.
Mhm. So that alert has fired. Your analyst has that information. So the analyst is able to see once they get that detection that, okay, let's go see what happened. They see the password reset happen, done by your help desk. Then they go through and they see, that user authenticated from an IP that is not registered in enter the country that your organization exists in. That's a little weird. It's a little weird that they're not, in the same geographical area. So that's something that you can tell your analyst right away with that enrichment we talked about earlier. Also, logging in from a device that isn't in our asset inventory and don't have information about, again, hopefully, that's very strange. So that kind of already tips your analyst off of this is weird, something weird is happening, we should be concerned. Then they go ahead and they're able to put, let's say, the IP address into Machina, and they see that it's had some reports previously. They see there might be some sense that it was used as an indicator of compromise in another attack. They're able to pretty quickly understand that this is a malicious action. This is not the user who has reset their password and is now logging in. They're able to then, hopefully in this case, use automation to quickly lock that user account and notify the user supervisor that something's happened, so that they can do that final verification. Make sure it wasn't just, the user's on vacation and forgot their phone and tried to log in. But we want to kind of treat that account as now compromised and lock it down. So that's, in the ideal situation, that's kind of how this works. Rather than, let's say, you don't want a one-to-one alert for a password reset. So it takes Meredith doing some more destructive action, like maybe data exfiltration, by the time you detect it. Versus in this scenario, we started detecting it from the minute she logged in as a malicious actor.
That's where RBA is really awesome.
Yeah, that's why we love RBA so much. I promise we are not being paid for it. We just love it.
But yeah, if you're waiting for data exfiltration, there's dozens of other things that could have happened that maybe were below a threshold and not causing an alert until you get to that. At that point, when everything's out the door already, you're not in a good spot.
Yeah.
So detecting early and soon is the best way to handle something like that.
Yes. And again, your risk scores don't have to be high. You can have super low risk scores on very benign activity. And again, those will just start to add. They'll start to add up and you'll start to get that better picture of what is happening in the environment.
And when an analyst sees that, they get that whole history too.
Mm-hmm. Allows analysts to quickly understand what happened and what they should do next. Again, have those processes in place. Great. So that was our demo, our little story that we told. Thank you all for participating. In Q&A. So I think Paul just wrote something.
Well, to me that looks like a attack path or something.
Yeah. Paul, I think you're trying to talk about a attack path. Yeah. So you can kind of see that score of 100 is reached through all of those different actions that a threat actor could very reasonably take.
So for Q&A, I would say feel free to use the chat, not the chat box. You can use the chat box too. We have the Q&A option. I'm gonna actually launch a question with I actually have regarding conf, because some of us are going to be at conf and we're curious if anyone else is going to be there too. So this would be a really easy question. I can actually see the results for this one as well.
We
But-
have multiple choice.
Yeah, nice and easy. But Meredith and I are both going to be at conf, so if you're going to be there, we'd love to meet up, say hi, and get some FaceTime with all of you. I'll be giving a couple sessions there. Meredith and I will be doing a workshop. And if you're not attending conf in person, there's the Splunk Global podcast, which we will make an appearance on as well. More to come, but looking forward to it. Also looking forward to getting some sleep afterwards, but
Definitely not during conf.
yeah.
Yes. I'm excited that we'll be sending a team to compete in Boss of the Sock too.
Yeah.
Very excited for that.
They are excited too. It's always fun when you be like, hey, people who analyze alerts all day and build detections and build playbooks and all that, how would you like to go somewhere else and do your same job after hours for
Mhm.
fun?
For funsies.
Yeah.
We have quite a few people at Hurricane Labs that do enjoy that.
And
that
they are
is-
all
that is-
insane.
Yep.
And we love them all.
Listen, you called me a threat actor today. You called me insane. I'm feeling a bit targeted here.
Well,
We're just speaking truths.
And this is why you're not getting your hoodie back. Threat actor gets to keep this for at least the workday.
Hey, as long as I get my phone back, you can keep the hoodie.
Deal.
not seeing any questions. So nice to know I did such a good job that I explained everything in so much detail that everyone is able to go out and do this themselves today.
What I'm hearing is we just need to have Mackenzie here for all future webinars.
I don't want to move to Ohio. I'm sorry. I like the mountains.
We have roller coaster mountains.
We have hills.
Yeah. We got
There's
potholes. They're like
cornfield.
reverse mountains.
Those two.
There might be some potholes that are equivalent to your mountains in some of our roads. So, oh, without seeing any more questions, I will say we are good for today. So, we'll be planning a Q4 webinar on a topic to be determined. But we'd love to get some feedback from you too, as well on that. So, I guess we'll just go ahead and throw this up, our contact information. Feel free to reach out to any of us. Mackenzie obviously is the best for knowing about security things, and me for Splunk, Meredith for hacking into people's phones, but also a lot of security stuff as well, and tabletops, all those kind of things. She's awesome at. So thank you all for attending. It's great to see so many, and I really love for these webinars, our attendance is, you stay there, you don't leave. You might be doing something in the background, it's fine, but we don't have people who run away, and I love to see that. So thank you all for being here and being with us, and we'll look forward to seeing you in a couple months. And for those of you at conf, say hi.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Bye.
Adios.